basically are a heavy engineering company, and they do some assembly. They basically make the brain centers for manufacturing companies that basically take a small container and it is outfitted with massive computers, electronics, and all of the other electrical that goes in it. And it will do something like, it'll run the entire plant for GAF, making shingles. It's quite extensive. We are coming back doing a expansion on that facility this summer. Recently, we went to another company called RDI that's in a similar business. We do not see this as somebody who makes widgets or something, not in this market. We see it more for a much higher end user. That's why we've developed a very high-end, high-tech looking building, and we hope to be successful in Lockport. Happy to answer any questions you may have.
Thank you.
I have initial comment, just one quick one, and then maybe later on. I see in the letter of submittal to the city dated November 22nd, 2022, that Northern Builders is proposing a 113,240 square foot building, and then before us is a 122,600 square foot building. If this was to go forward, something's going to need to be amended, I think, in the original letter from Northern Builders.
The project narrative?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Sure.
Apologize. In our initial letter, our architect had a slight error with the setback. We discovered we could build approximately 9,000 more square feet, still met parking setbacks, green areas, and there's a tremendous amount of land in the back of the property. So there's intention to utilize it. Out of the almost 11 acres, we're really only able to capture a little over 7 acres for a building. We want to be as competitive in this market as we can.
And since this is concept, I don't have any more specific questions.
Okay. Anyone else, questions, comments?
I have some more, I guess, comments than anything, and then I have a question. It's not necessarily for the applicant, but so the first question I had was, how many bays have we approved here? The surrounding buildings, I've went and drove out there, and I believe the building to the north and the building to the south each have 7 bays, and they're on approximately each on about 1/3 of the size of this parcel. So if you add those together, that's 14. This coming in with 12, I think, is reasonable, considering that's what we have approved recently in the past, and it's now been built, and I don't think we've had too many complaints out there. The second one I had was more general about, and this came up during the hockey discussion as well, about who can trigger the land bank parking being developed. And this isn't necessarily the concern that I have for this property. However, I brought it up before, the Bo Jackson Dome, the parking there is just a nightmare. I went over there tonight, Valentine's Day, Tuesday, middle of winter, 4 parking spots left in the whole place, and there's like 11 or 12 cars parked on the street. So especially with these more trucks being involved here and more bays, being able to tell those users of that area, if that's us, if it's the city council, whoever it is, that I would like to have them start developing their parking as we have that park fill up, because God forbid there's a 7-year-old kid going to a baseball practice trying to cross a street, and now we got 15 trucks because they couldn't find parking in the Bodome parking lot. So it doesn't really have much impact to do with this development necessarily, which I'm on board with, but I do want, as a general whole of that whole business park, to remain safe and to remain, parked appropriately, so that we don't have people crossing the street on a regular basis with the added truck traffic. So again, it's not a problem for this, and I don't think there's a possibility we may never have to develop these extra parking spots if this does remain mostly a manufacturing, and you have 133. I can't imagine there being that many more employees in a building this size if that's what they're doing. But that's just a general concern that I have. Lance, I don't know if you had the answer to that, or if we've approached the city council about that previously.
Yeah, we did talk to the Bodum owners about it. They were booked out for the spring, but they are going to recalibrate their scheduling mechanisms. So they're going to allow for a 15 or 20-minute break in between sessions to allow the current folks to be able to get out and new folks to be able to come in, Whether or not that solves the issue, I don't know. We do not have a legal mechanism to force them to build out their parking, unfortunately. But it is something that they are aware of and we have told them about.
Is that something that we should be building into developments like this, or even the hockey,
absolutely.
saying, hey, if you get to X, Y, and Z, if you get 2 or 3 violations or something like that, then you have to start, because that is concerning to me. But not so much for this project. Again, I don't want it. I don't want it to be focused on this project, but like the hockey one and the Bodom, those are places that you will have high turnover, and I just don't want there to ever be a situation and feel like I didn't say anything or try and do something about it, because that would just
Yeah.
be devastating.
I wouldn't have any issue at all if the commission has some language that they would like to add to the approval of it. When we were discussing the hockey facility, the commission's preference was to not add language, specific language in there, and so we didn't do that in that case, but certainly we're totally open.
I think the hockey rink had like 478 or 487 parking spaces with
Correct.
the available land
Yes.
to do it. And the comments from this commission were that once they start parking on the street, it's time to finish the parking lot. Now, going back to the Bow Dome, when they came before us, whatever year that was, there's language in that agreement of their banked parking, or they're supposed to be. Let me go back. So, not there, yeah. Okay.
Lance, my recollection is that Styleline and B&B have some precast wall construction, correct?
Correct, yes.
So there's precedent out there?
Yes.
That's what I thought. Okay, thanks.
Yeah. The specifics related to the covenants that overlay Prime Business Park, we kind of got into that a little bit with the Summit Ice Arena. You know, back when Prime Business Park was originally conceived 30X years ago, business parks were conceived to be, you know, architectural offices and things like that, and so the building style was going to be different. When it started to shift to the B&B Foods and the style on cabinet company, the construction methodology certainly changed. And so it did modify the precedent. We still are trying to work with our applicants, as we did with the Summit Ice Arena, to try and identify ways in which we can influence the architecture to still be true to the spirit of what the covenants request as a part of the architecture, but not be held to them in completion or in totality. And so, you know, we feel very good about the design guidelines that the City Plan Commission, City Council adopted 2 years ago with the zoning code. And so we do lean on those fairly heavily when we get into these situations. And we think there's definitely a solution that's out there once we get into the final development plan. And honestly, once they have a user, that may define some of those needs as well, as far as what the building looks like and things like that, based on the type of user that they end up with.
I also noticed in the Chamlin report that sanitary sewer, the note is at capacity, but that the city's, that crosses I-355, that the city sanitary sewer has adequate development, but that the crossing there was kind of at capacity. I'm assuming that you will have a minimal fixture count in this building, since the majority of it is going to be open space.
We submitted a preliminary PE count to the engineer, and he came back and said there's more than sufficient capacity for it. We do not look at this facility as something that would have any kind of process use. It would mainly just be restroom facilities, break room, et cetera.
Thanks.
Questions or comments?
I'm good with it. I like it.
Yeah, I like it. Okay. Do we have a motion? And if you want to have a motion with the parking, if you want to put something in there that signifies parking,
You know, for this one, I think I'm okay with it. I'm just the whole process in general is a little, you know, I mean, once these things are up, it's to get someone to pay 500 to what, I don't know, you know more than I would, a couple $1 million to put in more parking is is a tough pull, because they've already built, they've already got their approvals, they've got their leases, they know what their cash flows are gonna be. So for this one, I don't necessarily think that a user like this is gonna need it, but I just wanted it kind of on the record, and maybe, you know, when the city council reviews all the notes, I think that as long as it's mentioned, I think I'd be okay with that for this particular one, but I do think, if we were to do it over again on some of these other ones, I would probably request. So for this one, I specifically am okay. If someone else wants to include it, that's fine, but since it was my question, I figured I would answer that.
And I don't think it relates to this application before you, but it doesn't hurt and it doesn't prevent us, the city, from writing a letter to the owners of the Bow Dome that this commission feels that that is a concern, and that if the staggering of the scheduling does not work, that we will ask them to go and start paving for additional parking.
Okay,
Thank you.
what's your pleasure?
Kimberly, could you put the motion back on the screen, please? Sorry. I'll make the motion, motion to approve the concept plan for 122,600 square foot building for limited manufacturing and assembly within the O2 General Office zoning district, subject to the conditions laid out by staff.
I'll second.
Any questions or comments? Hearing none, roll call vote, please.
You got it. Wheeler.
Yes.
Garland.
Yes.
Maloney.
Yes.
Oxley.
Yes,
Peters.
Yes.
Likens.
Yes.
Deskin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
thank you much. This will go before city council on, what's the date, Kimberly? March or
Okay.
7 PM in this room. Thank you. Okay, next, we have a concept plan for a gas station with a convenience store at the northwest corner of 150, northeast, I'm sorry, at 151st Street and Archer Avenue.
Yeah.
Who gets to present this one?
Thank you, Chairman. I'll present this. Next case before you is case number 2022-020. Harm Singh has submitted a concept plan for a gas station development for the property located at the northeast corner of 151st Street and Archer Avenue intersection. An aerial map is displayed on your monitor. The city's comprehensive plan designates the subject property for future commercial uses. The subject property is currently zoned C3 Highway Commercial and is impressed with a special use permit to allow a mobile home park. The property is approximately 1.82 acres and is located at the northeast corner of Archer and 151st. The applicant is seeking approval of a concept plan for a gas station development. Prior to submitting formal development plans, a fuel station is classified as a special use within the C3 zoning district in the city's permitted use table of the zoning ordinance. The applicant currently owns and operates a successful gas station development in Lamont near the Archer Avenue and 135th Street intersection. The proposed gas station and convenience store would have similar design to the Lamont location, however, without the drive-through facility. Displayed on your monitor is the concept site plan. The concept plan illustrates a 4,000 square foot proposed commercial building for a convenience store and fuel station with fuel pumps, primarily for passenger vehicles with overhead canopy, located on the northwest portion of the site. Truck drive with truck fuel pumps and overhead canopy are located on the northeast portion of the property. A detention basin is provided along the south property line adjacent to 151st Street. Access from 151st Street, which is within the city of Lockport's Public Works jurisdiction, will be full access at the southeast corner of the site. Parking is provided northwest and northeast of the convenience store. Trucks will exit west only from the 151st entrance exit. Elevations, a color rendering is displayed on your monitors. A sample building elevation and color rendering of the convenience store were submitted for review. The materials will meet the city's architectural design standards with more than 60% Class 1 materials. The building's exterior will be constructed of brick with stone accents. The convenience store has a pre-finished aluminum storefront window system. The concept plan was reviewed by engineering consultants Shamlin and Associates. Engineering comments have been provided in your packets. The fire district reviewed the plan, and the Lockport Township Fire Prevention District has no comments or concerns at this time. The motion, a suggested motion, is displayed. Should the commission find the concept plan for the proposed fuel station development acceptable, the following motion is suggested. A motion to approve the concept plan for a fuel station, subject to the following conditions. The applicant acknowledges that staff has completed a general review only of the concept plan, and that a more detailed review will occur with submission of a preliminary and final development plan. Staff comments at this time are general, intended to outline steps necessary if the project moves forward, and to provide guidance and considerations for future submittals. Concept plan approvals are valid for 1 year from the date of approval of a concept plan, provides the applicant reasonable assurance to move forward with submission of preliminary development plan. The preliminary development plan shall be in general conformance with an approved concept plan. This concludes staff's analysis, and the applicant is here this evening to answer questions.
Thank you. One of the changes that we have requested from the applicant was so that there's no semis here, is to lower the canopy on the fuel route, which is on the north side of this development. Now, we came up with a 13-foot thing. There's been some talk about the 13-foot height, to lowering it to 12'6", so that pretty much guarantees no semis will fit in there. That's up to you guys to do this, if you want to impose that also. Most of the vehicles that are there using fuel are contractor-based with landscapers, Bobcats, stuff like that, is 90-some% of their customers further north on Archer and 135th Street. There's not an intention for semis to fuel there. And I think part of our request will be also that there's signs posted, no semis, stuff of that nature. But, we have a large following tonight. Thanks for coming out. Anyone like to speak on this?
Lance, do we need to officially open a public hearing? Or
It's
is
not
this
public
just
hearing,
no?
it's concept. So, sir, just please state your name and address, and
My name is John Bowling. I live at 925 West 151st Street, so right across from the detention pond listed there.
so you're directly south of it, John? South of this project?
Yes,
Okay.
if you know Tunstall.
I know where you're at, but just, okay.
All right. And can you spell your last name, please?
Sure, it's Roling.
Thank you.
Well, that property has been in our family for, since 1949. My wife and I have lived in it since 1999. When you guys had the zoning change a while ago to talk about this, years ago when you changed it to commercial, we went and actually told you we didn't want a gas station, was the only thing we didn't want to go in there. So now when you're coming and showing us a gas station, we're not exactly really happy. Light pollution will be a problem for us, noise. Traffic is already bad. There are times when I have to wait a minute or two to be able to back out of my driveway because there's so many vehicles going, back and forth there. So not real fond of that either. The entryway over, a little bit down 151st Street is going to contribute to that, making more cars come that direction, making it harder to get out. We also have well water. What does 10,000 gallons of gas in the ground, have, if anything seeps, does that hurt our well water, things like that? And also, if you look at Archer, 1.5 miles that way, gas station. 2.5 miles, gas station from the company that's trying to build another one here. You go through the, behind us there, 1.5 miles, there's another gas station. There's no need for another gas station right here. And I plan on dying in this house. I don't want to look out my front window at a gas station every day for the rest of my existence. Now, one thing you guys might not know about is recently the pipeline came in and is going to remove all of our trees in front of our houses along 151st Street. Now we've lost any blockage of light and sound and stuff because of that. So now this would be an even bigger burden, more light coming in, and we won't be able to put in trees that will be able to block that because of the pipeline.
Well, there's a pipeline easement there, and that's why
Well,
they're
I understand
recovering
that.
their easement.
Yeah, but I'm just saying, we had trees to block light and stuff before, we won't in about 3 weeks. So it makes it even more difficult for us in the long run. So I am glad to hear that there will be no semis, because that was a big concern for us, because that would really screw up the traffic, pattern there. So, that's a nice addition, but, everything else in there really is not something that we are looking forward to, and I'm sure I've got a lot of people behind me that are gonna say the same thing.
Okay.
So,
Thank you, Jen. Anyone else from the public wish to speak?
Hi, Dave. Christian Koskis, 905 151st Street, in the little yellow house. I'm on the cul-de-sac. But the things that we also, like John said, he's my neighbor, the lights, traffic has increased the last 5 years, probably 50%. So the traffic's already bad. I can see it getting worse. Lights, we are also worrying about lights shining in the houses, and they're knocking all my trees down in the front, and they said you could only plant a shrub, so I don't know what's gonna block my lights now. And we planted them trees before the street was done, when the electric was way down by the road more, and then they moved it back when they redid the road to do the lights. We're really worried about well contamination. Those 5 houses there, we all have well and septic. And gas station isn't that far away. Get any seepage, what's gonna happen to all of our wells? So if you're gonna do this, those 5 houses there, y'all need to get us city sewer and water, if you're gonna do this. I mean, I think it's reasonable, because any kind of contamination is gonna affect us. And also property value, is this gonna increase me or definitely decrease me? So just some questions, we're a little worried, very worried.
We will comment on these questions once we get them all.
Okay?
Thank you. Anyone else?
Good evening, my name's Raymond Gonzalez, my wife Glenda Gonzalez. We live at 15027 South Archer Avenue. We are at a house directly north of this proposed site. I don't doubt for a moment that it's still gonna go up there no matter what. I do have some concerns. I have a concern that 6-foot-high privacy fence is not tall enough. I would propose an 8-foot-high privacy fence. Light pollution, it's going to be there. There's no way around that. I do have issue with the diesel pumps. I think you made reference to the canopy being there. I would be concerned about semis coming in and out, and I know that you're trying to refrain from that. I see the egress coming in off of Archer Avenue is right next to my driveway. So getting in and out onto Archer Avenue already, traffic has increased tenfold. We've been there 21 years now, and traffic has increased tenfold. It'll be that much harder once the egress. If the egress could be moved farther, maybe farther south, you make it a little bit easier, I don't know. I too am on well and septic. I too would have a concern about, runoff from the gas station and the gasoline from there. And I had one more concern. Oh, so I do want to make mention of the fact that there is a lot more traffic flow there, and this would also, obviously, it's a point that would drive more people, bring more people there. If you recall, it was, I believe, a year ago that there was a motorcycle rider that got killed in the corner there because the traffic on 151st coming off to turn onto Archer Avenue, they come there, and since they've changed the direction of 151st Street, they come up there and they do a running stop, or they don't stop, and they'll pull out in front of traffic. And I see that also being a bigger concern once a gas station is there. So those are some of the points of interest that I have right now. I'm sure there'll be more as time goes on and this development starts to take shape. But that's what I want to say as of this point.
Thank you much.
Thank you, sir.
Ryan, do you want to comment on some of these as far as the noise and the traffic and stuff of that nature?
So specifically, I mean, those items can be addressed in final engineering and review. Light pollution, things of that nature will be looked at in terms of no spill from the site and zero light emitted off the site. As far as noise goes, we would... Yeah, so we can review all these items during engineering review. Right now, this is all concept level, so we don't have a lot of information here to be able to review against some of those items specifically, other than to say that the code does require zero light spill from any of the light fixtures within the site. So those items will be looked at and verified by both planning and engineering. As far as the entrance goes, I believe the concerns that brought up about the semis, the chairman addressed, do alleviate some of the engineering's concerns regarding the 151st Street access point. And at this point, engineering has no objection to the location of that entrance, is what that has been discussed through staff.
Okay.
So,
Okay. Our ordinance for lights is, they call it zero looms at the lot line. The light is not supposed to spill over anything past the lot line, and that can be adjusted accordingly. And the engineers will do a study of that to make sure of that. Egress, okay. What, noise is noise, it's water Lance, they meant, so I think Chris mentioned sewer and water, city sewer and water. Do you have any idea what the capacities are there? I know we have lines there.
Right, so as a part of this project, they will be extending sewer and water onto the property and along 151st Street. So, extending it under 151st Street or getting a main over there may be a possibility that could supplement either residents that are on the south side that would want to tap on to the city system. We would certainly have to look at that, as well as the adjacent residents to the north. They would then have access to it as well. I know that from a staff standpoint, we've been looking at kind of this overall area about how we serve it with water and sanitary, because we have a lot of dead ends in this area, and we prefer to try and loop as much as we can to keep the water quality as fresh as possible. So I think that those are definitely some potential opportunities that are out there, if not immediate, but certainly in the future, with this being in place, that we could accommodate something like that. I would also add that a number of the comments are very helpful for us as staff, because if an 8-foot fence is something that the adjacent neighbors would prefer, it's something that we can ask the applicant to install. And I think that would certainly be something that we can accommodate. We sometimes use house side shields on lights. Basically put a metal plate on the back side of the light to block any light from being able to spill behind the fixture itself, so that it would go onto the adjacent property. That's something that we can help with too, as well as maybe looking at the way in which the light levels decrease at certain hours of the night. So if the facility is closed, maybe the light levels decreased by half or a third, to try and reduce some of those lights. So I think the comments are very helpful for us, and it's really the reason why we do a concept plan is so that we can hear some of the issues that are out there and be able to respond to them appropriately and help guide the applicant as they go through the process. I did want to note that as a part of the zoning consideration of this, I don't remember how many months ago it was, but maybe 10 months ago when we redid the gas station definitions as part of our zoning code, we did modify it to be a special use permit that was only allowed at certain intersections throughout the city. This was one of those identified intersections, so from a use standpoint, it is something that is allowed in this location as a special use. And the reason why we have a special use is for all the reasons that we've talked about, related to light and fencing and all of those different types of things that allows us the mechanism to be able to accommodate some of those impacts.
The fence height on the north side was mentioned to be 8 foot instead of 6. Can we increase that berm?
If we could.
Pardon me?
Preferably 10. I have 2 young kids and a third one on the way, and the safety for my kids in that neighborhood is, it's not gonna be safe having trucks coming in. I understand you guys say the diesel trucks are not coming in. My car was hit there last year by a trucker. The trucks go by there every single day, because we can see through our backyard, the trucks going by. So I want a 10-foot fence. My room, as well as my 2 kids' room, faces that way, and we have to buy darkening shades, because we still get light in there for the new light they put in at the corner.
Thank you. Where do you live compared to this?
15021 Archer Avenue.
Can we get name and address, please?
Courtney Hobart, I live at 15021 Archer
Courtney,
Avenue.
could you please come to this?
Absolutely.
Thank you. State your name and address for the record, please.
It is Courtney Cobart. I live with my parents at 15021 Archer Avenue, right next to Ray Glenda, who have the proposed gas station right next to them.
So what, okay, so just so I understand, which house is it from?
We're the
gas station?
second house from the trailer park on Archer.
Okay, on Archer. So Mr. Gonzalez and then you. Okay. Yes, back there, yep. Okay.
So
I
there's a
just
lot
like-
of light right now.
I like to know where everyone lives so everybody understands where you're viewing from.
Yes, and it's a concern, you know, with city and sewer, because you guys said you guys were gonna, you know, possibly bring it in. Why hasn't this been done before? Because the property there right now has sewer issues, and every time it rains, we have the sewer smell coming from there over to our house. There are animals living in the first 2 trailers over there that have been for years, because they've been sitting empty, and I have a possum trying to eat my chickens and my dog, as well as 4 different cats living in those trailers that are coming over there. So it's concerning that now that this gas station's going in, you'll get sewer and water in there and then take care of all this, but it hasn't been done in the past 10 years. We've had issues.
I'll let Lance address that, I'm sorry.
And it's a
Chairman, if I could ask for you to reiterate the process of public meetings in the decorum where we can't have multiple people speaking for the purpose of taking the minutes. There has to be some type of orderly process. That means that people cannot verbally.
I was just going to address that.
Yeah.
Courtney's at the podium now speaking, and I was just going to address the people to not speak while someone else is speaking. Thank you. Go ahead.
So yes, it's just a big concern with the lights and the people walking through. We already have people walking through our backyard from 151st to Archer to kind of like bypass through there. So now that we'll have a gas station and everybody, you know, in town would like to walk on the side of the road and use our yard to come through or whatever, what is the safety for my kids as well as the traffic? Because I can't even stand outside close to where the bus would be because of the traffic, the amount of accidents happening. One of my dogs have gotten killed out there because of the traffic. And another thing is the bar on the corner. Oh, well, it's not on the corner, where, what is the bar's name? Morgan's.
That's further north
Yes.
about
The traffic
quarter mile,
from.
half mile.
Yes.
Okay.
The traffic from there is already absolutely ridiculous in the summertime, and the motorcycles are very loud going there. So what is a gas station gonna do late night, even louder, for my kids who sleep? They're only 6 and 4, and now we're bringing all more traffic in there. What are we gonna do about that?
Good point. Okay.
Okay, thank you very much, sir.
And anyone else wish to speak? Please state your name and address for the record.
Hi, my name is Christina Borman, 929 West 151st Street. I'm across from the detention pond.
From where? I'm sorry.
That detention pond.
Okay.
I have a few same concerns as everyone else, the seepage, the traffic. I also have small children who take the bus, and that 151st entrance and exit, my concern is you have Walsh buses coming. So they are turning, you have traffic that, from Archer, you have traffic from the schools, you have Oak Prairie, you have all the school buses. That is my concern, and also the lights and hours of operation. So on Murphy's, I think it's Murphy's, on Farrell, they close. My other concern is hours of operation. Are they going to close? Are they open 24/7? Does anyone know that?
I do not have that information. I can get it for you.
Hi, my name is Parm. The quick run stores, none of them are open.
Hold on,
24 hours.
stop.
Sorry.
We'll have you answer these questions
Okay,
after.
sorry. So that was my concern. I know that one closes. That's by residential area. And the lighting. I went to the one in Lamont. I'm sorry. The lighting there is obnoxious. And if I have to live across the street from that, then, like everyone said, the trees, everything's been cut down. So I just wanted to say that it's a concern.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Anyone else?
I have one more thing I want to ask. Jennifer Rowling, 925. My husband spoke at the beginning. I actually just have a question. So I came to actually most of us were at the meeting when you rezoned from whatever it was, residential, non-conforming, to C3. And at that point, we were all here and we said, we don't want a gas station, we don't want it zoned commercial. And you were all like, oh, I don't know if it was you guys in particular, whoever. Do you know how long ago it was rezoned? It was less than 10 years ago, I'm not sure. But anyway.
I have to go back with who was here. I'm thinking.
Most of us were here because we've all lived here for a very long time. So at that point, you were like, I doubt it's going to be a gas station. And I said, it's going to be a gas station. Fast forward, 2021, as one of you were just saying, you guys changed the zoning in Lockport, which sounds great. And your reasons for limiting gas stations were environmental and the fact that you didn't want a gas station on every corner. I would like to know why we were not informed that our corner was one that you were going to list as a possibility. It feels like we should have been notified of that, so we could have complained then. Because now it's almost too late. You know, somebody's got these plans in the works and it sounds all great, but why is our corner one of them that you said is fine?
I think the answer of you not being notified is because you're unincorporated and this is city, and therefore the zoning in the city doesn't go with the zoning in the county.
So across the street from us is still city and we're not?
Pardon me?
Where this is the city?
Yes.
That's always been a problem. But we should have been, I mean, this, way back when, we made ourselves clear, and it's really too bad that somebody didn't think about our needs when they decided to, you know, make this plan that really sucks for all of us.
Okay. Okay. Thank you.
My name is Peter Borman, 929 West 151st Street. So, my neighbors here, they're unincorporated. I'm corporated. Neighbors next door, the lot, the land that you guys are gonna put townhouses or whatever they're putting up there, they're unincorporated. Everyone around me is unincorporated besides this parcel. The people that built the house were promised sewer and water, and they stopped it, stopped it on 151st, right by McGregor. You can see the fire hydrant, never got it, so I'm on well and septic too. I don't want city water. Used to live right there by the classic car wash, and I think my well water is better than the city water, to be honest with you. But everyone else has good concerns of everything, just the traffic's ridiculous. So, that'd be it. Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay, we'll have the developer stand and, oh, come on up.
Hi, my name is Mark Orofino. I live at 15051 Archer, the specific spot where this gas station is going to go. Nobody's spoken anything about the residents that are in the mobile home park. They're going to be displaced. It's all seniors there. People, I've been there 17 years. I've got people there that were there over 25 years, 20 years. And what happens to them? Just throw them out in the street, 90 days,
No, I don't
get
think
out?
that's true at all, sir. My understanding is they're being moved to the trailer park at Lamont, 135th and Archer, is what I'm told. Now, we can't hear five people talking, please. That's my
just
understanding.
Speculation. Nothing's been done. There are spaces over there that are not open because the trailers have been abandoned. So I don't know when this is going to start, where they're going to move a couple trailers over there to accommodate the people that live there. I don't know. Like I said, it's just speculation. And one other thing I'd like to mention is the last 4 years I've worked overnight at a Shell gas station in Tinley Park, 171st in Harlem. And it's a 24/7 operation. And you'd be shocked at the people that come in there that are drunk, puking in the street, music, boombox cars blasting, fights. We just had a car carjacked from there. I quit because honestly, I started, I'm semi-retired and I just got cold feet. I'm not going to die for $10 an hour. So that's just something I think people should understand. It's going to be noisy. If you think people are going to pull in that gas station, turn their music down, and be quiet and respectful of the neighborhood, that's not happening. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Is the developer here to wish to comment on some of these?
Hello. Good evening. My name is Paramveer Singh. I'm here to talk about the concept plan for the gas station with convenience store at the northeast corner of 151st and Archer Avenue. As we have mentioned before, we have a gas station in Lamont, guys. We've been operational for about 2.5 years, and these problems do exist that have been mentioned here, but not not the way we construct store. We don't run our stores 24 hours a day. We close at 11 p.m. and then we open the stores at 5 in the morning. Not just one or two quick run. All the quick run stores are under this schedule. Yes, at nighttime after 11 p.m. or around midnight, or drunk people, as mentioned, around 2 o'clock, that's the time where you see majority of these things happen. There was mention of, guys, some light pollution. If you can check out our Lamont gas station behind the store, there is zero light pollution. As mentioned, we do a photometric plan. We order our lights through a Pacific manufacturer because the way they design, it's not just like a light we order and then we tell them. We do the plan first and then we order the light. It's going to be zero outside the property line. So these are LED lights, older style lights. Older stores do have these obnoxious lights that spill out every single direction. Our lights are kind of like a can light. These are recessed. And, there might be problems. Like if there is a problem with the light, there's a concern, we're willing to work with the neighbors. There is so much that can be done. There are plates we can put around the lights that just keep it, only goes downwards. That's basically how most of the gas stations are going. We are willing to work with the fence height whatever we have to do. If it's not 6 feet, if we will have to do 8 feet, we're willing to work with whatever feedback we get. There was a mention of traffic. We are not, most of, over 80% of our customers, I just don't build my stores, I actually work in them. The first year, over 360 days, almost a whole year, I ran the Lamont store every day from open to close. I like to understand where we are, what the community needs, are we selling the right product? We noticed we're only pulling the traffic off the road. It's not like we're increasing traffic. We're bringing the traffic off the road into our site, then back on the road. There was a mention of, property values. It's been about 3 years since we've been working on the Lamont store. The houses have sold around us that, we keep an eye on. There isn't much difference there's a gas station, it's gonna go down in house value. It doesn't help, it doesn't go up, but I'm just saying it's not like it's gonna be off 40% since there's a gas station there. That, we haven't seen that in Lamont, and we could provide some data on it if requested on the property values. And we're willing to work if the driveway needs to move a little bit, if we need to work with our neighbors and something needs to be adjusted, we're more than, open to the comments, and we can address that. Again, loud music, violent type of customers, they go to places that are dirty, that are old, that have broken windows, that have trash on the parking lot, they have an environment like that attracts those kind of people. At the Lamont store, it's nothing like that. We clean our parking lot every day, day and night. We have a schedule that everybody follows of cleaning. We get our stores power washed. Just the way we build the store, guys. It's a beautiful store that we have built over there. It looks like nothing else around here. And, when that type of store is there, you're not selling certain type of products I can't mention, but some kind of drug paraphernalia type of stuff at gas stations. It doesn't invite that kind of customers. Our customers are different because we don't sell that kind of stuff. So, and Lamont is a great example of going in and seeing what we sell, how's everything. It's just like any other gas station. And then with the mobile home, there is, like it's been mentioned already, guys, with the Lamont, there is a mobile home park there, and there's 5-6 spots open last time I could tell. There's 3 right on Archer Avenue, but there's 2-3 more in the back. So if somebody wants to be moved there, adjusted there, and that could be done. And then that's it, guys. We have the only reason we're here is we looked at the comprehensive plan. We wanted to build another location. There's a 4-mile stretch from our station on Archer Avenue in Lamont till the next store that's on Archer Avenue. It's 4 miles plus, and it's heavily needed over there. And so we looked at the comprehensive plan 2021. It was a C3, and for a gas station, we need a C3. And we said, let's give it a try, and that's all, guys. Let me know if you have any questions or anything.
One of the questions and comments that we've had, and this was with staff, about lowering this canopy, and we came back with a 13-foot, but we have a suggestion from one of the members to lower it to 12'6", and also putting no semis.
Yes, I'm willing to work with that.
We understand you'll have a semi delivering the fuel.
Yep.
But it's not gonna come out on 151st Street, put 80,000 pounds on the pavement and ruin it. Now we're down to about 35,000 pounds.
Okay. Yeah, we're willing to adjust the plan. Yeah, that's what, yeah, the truck coming in from Archer, it will be coming in from Archer. The one delivering fuel to Lamont gas station is coming from Archer. And once it's done fueling, we asked that if it could, the trailer is empty and then the truck could go leave. I measured the truck last week. It's 11 feet tall that delivers fuel. So this 12 feet 6 inches, we could make that work. And if we're given for the fuel truck to leave, on 151st, that would be really helpful.
Well, is there another option of having that truck leave on Archer? Is that possible?
The way the site is, guys, we had asked for, when we were reviewing and developing the plan, there was a there was requests made to remove certain driveways and only have one on Archer. So we're just following through, and to circle it, we tried it at the Lamont store. It doesn't, we thought it could work, but it doesn't work when it comes in from Archer and then circles back out of Archer. It's a little challenging for us with the size we have.
Okay. Okay, thank you. Commissioners, what's your comments?
I'll start, I guess. So I wrote down some comments from everyone, and I had my own comments previously. So the first thing that I would like to ask is, Kimberly, do we have the landscaping plan electronically, or is it shared with any of the folks that are here?
The landscape plan is not required at the conceptual stage. A landscape plan is,
Yeah, I mean,
in the concept, it's
Yeah.
not on the digital.
Yeah. So just, we do have one, folks, and that's one thing that I did want to bring up. And I thought that this was excellent. We've had a lot of things put up in the city that we've had to really push for, to add trees, to add shrubs, to add green barriers. So I did want to thank the applicant, and also, if there is a way to share this with the public, maybe not now, but maybe when we come in for an approval, or should that happen, I do think that this would alleviate some of the concerns. When we're talking fence, I do think the need to go to 8 or possibly 10 feet is certainly something that we should probably consider putting into a proposal. Light pollution, I think, I've been fairly happy with those answers. We've gone through that a lot, most recently with the proposed car wash at 3rd and 9th Streets. That one's not built yet, but getting those answers, they did the light studies, seeing how these lights work, that was good. Traffic, I believe the applicant just addressed it, they're not really a destination business, and all these concerns that I heard from the citizens about traffic, I completely understand them. I also don't think that this gas station would add to the traffic. I'm not gonna go out of my way to go to this gas station. If I'm on that road, I'll pull in. I don't know how many people would necessarily go out of their way, and I do get it, the day-to-day concerns, and the more people on that specific site. We kind of heard both sides of the property value argument, right? We have trailers that are drawing animals that are vacant and cats running around everywhere versus now we have, maybe more traffic here on a day-to-day basis, but it's also a couple $1 million facility that is now replacing a thing that we've had a few complaints about also. Hours of operation, I had that same concern. 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. seems reasonable. 24 hours, I would have probably been an immediate, no on. If even, that would have been something that would have been very concerning to me, so I'm glad we got that addressed. I do have a question about the well water situation. Because these adjacent lots are unincorporated, is there anything procedurally that if we were to get water to this site, expanding it, would those properties then have to become incorporated into the city of Lockport, or would they be able to just tap onto the well water or the city water should they choose? And I believe one gentleman said he wouldn't want that. Would they have that right to keep their existing septic and well situation? I want the residents to be able to have the choice. I just don't know what the procedures are.
I mean, if they're unincorporated, then there's no requirement that they tap onto our system, but if it's close enough and, there's an opportunity there, we would certainly be willing to explore that with a resident. We'll need to discuss it internally, just at a staff level with Brent and others about kind of the approach that we would take, as well as where the water line and the sewer line are going on the site, and whether it's feasible to extend it to a couple other locations.
Okay, and then, the last thing, and probably the most important thing, quite frankly, is, the safety that was discussed. The gentleman who worked in Tinley Park, and they had an issue there. One, I think the hours are mitigated. 2, Cook County versus Will County. I think we all know that there's some sort of a prosecutorial, difference there historically. Not to say that couldn't change in the future. But that's always going to be a concern, right? When you have anything after dark, there's people gathering. I totally understand that. I also would say that it was mentioned that there's a bar, that's open till 2 o'clock, a block up the road, and the American Legion, I believe, also serves alcohol late into the night, which would, is also probably a concern versus this project. So, I just want to let the residents know that I think we all hear both sides, but those are some of the things that I pointed out. I saw both sides. And then my final question is for Lance or the applicant, I'm not really sure, that the access on Archer, would that remain a full but just no left for trucks, or would that be changed to a right in, right out?
They will have to have IDOT review that connection point. Right now, it's shown as a full access point, left in and out and right in and out. But that's going to be a coordination item, just like it is with Continental and anybody accessing on 159th Street, that they'll need to run through with IDOT too. We believe that the way that it's shown is going to be acceptable to IDOT, but they have not started that process as a part of the concept plan approval.
Okay, thank you for the clarification. All right, that's all my notes. I'm sorry, I just wanted to go down all my points and note that I looked at both sides personally, and, you know, I'm sure
Thank you,
everyone
Aaron.
else did.
Anyone else? Janine? Matt?
Just one thing, I was just, to piggyback what you were saying, Aaron, as far as a landscaping plan, even if, I don't know if this hurts or helps, but even potentially berming on that portion of 151st and Archer, just to at least, if that's bermed and then treed out there, is that a potential for, one of the largest complaints are folks don't want to look out their bay window and see a gas station. I understand that. So there might be one way to work around it, but one of my other concerns is blocking off of 151st is, folks have pointed out, folks come ripping around the corner and maybe don't stop all the way and could cause issues. That might actually slow people down because they can't get what they think is a clear view of, field of view. So they might actually slow down a little bit more. And then, I don't know, maybe there's something as much as, lighting caution, like further up the road on 151st, like approaching or something along those lines. I don't know if any of those things are there now, but just to help implement more, basically traffic controls. And has there been, since this has been, slightly rerouted, has there been any, recent traffic studies? Does IDOT have any that we could have access to?
I would doubt that there are any traffic studies. The signal's been there for 10 plus years now. They may have done a traffic study originally as a part of the signal design, but because there hasn't been a new development in this corridor in 50 years, then I don't think that there's anything current, for sure.
I wonder if there's any way that we can have traffic controls placed on 151st approaching Archer.
We will have a traffic study that's required as a part of the final development plan in this project.
I don't even
for
know
sure.
if it's like rumble strips or something, just to keep people's attention. And I completely understand. I grew up in the country where people just blow through stops at 40, 50 miles an hour because they think they can see everything. So I get that. But no, just the idea of maybe berming and some traffic controls further down 151st. Archer is Archer. Archer's a raceway. I know what you mean. That is challenging there. But 151st, I think there's probably something we can implement, or at least offer some guidance of, maybe basic signage with lights, something. I don't know.
Yep, absolutely.
I just had one comment about the gentleman who currently lives where the trailer park is, says seems kind of ambiguous as to what information those residents had, if it could be clearer for a point of contact or information. If this goes forward, then they would have to relocate. I think that should be addressed a little more clearly.
Yeah, we can work with the applicant. It's a contract with the property owner and the residents themselves. One of the residents did share one of the letters that they received from the owner today with me, and so they have to negotiate that out. We can for sure ask for as much information as we can, but ultimately it's a private transaction between two private property owners and a leaseholder. But as Parnveer mentioned, we would like to try and help as much as possible if this project is approved ultimately by City Council, to try and help navigate those relocations to the degree that we have that ability.
I just wondered if our city engineer might speak briefly to the sophistication of modern subgrade fuel holding tanks, as well as the sewer side of that, as there were comments about contamination of groundwater.
Yeah, absolutely. All of that is governed by the fire marshal's office, so they have very strict standards in terms of what type of underground storage tanks are used and the documenting, inspection of, and ultimately the maintenance of those underground storage tanks. Now, as far as sanitary sewer and water goes, the applicant will be required to extend sewer and water, or in some way, shape, or form, that water would be extended up to the property line, so their municipal water and sewer would be along the frontage of that facility. So again, to Lance's point, how that would all then take place between negotiation between the city and the property owners in terms of how those connections could be made would have to be discussed further. Does that answer the question? Yeah.
A comment I would have here is, you know, should this be approved tonight and then ultimately approved by the city council, that during the preliminary phase, there's an accompanying engineering study for water and sewer at that intersection. I know I've heard talk about it for at least 15 years. It's less speculation and a little bit more solid. And so in the event that people in the area do wish to go ahead and tap onto the city, when we say the city, we mean the city of Lockport, not, when it says city water, it's not Chicago water, it's city of Lockport water. So they have that. So it's less speculation, a little bit more firm. This is a plan that the city can work on to alleviate a lot of the questions that have been asked for as long as I can remember. Coming to meetings here in this room for all these years that I have. So I know it's not part of this, but it'll definitely be part of an adjunct to the preliminary plan.
Are you asking for a separate study done by our internal engineers
Yeah,
that
I
shows how
think-
we connect Maryknoll over
Yeah,
to McGregor and that whole area? I mean, I'm not sure if we can do that for
Well, it's not
this
part of the
project.
zoning that we're talking about tonight,
Right.
but I think what he's referring to is, there's talks amongst city engineering to extend the water lines from Maryknoll Shopping Center and George's up into that area, loop it all in, and just move forward on it. And that's where we're going here.
Yeah, you know, so it isn't just pure speculation or, and it's, you know, nothing's gonna happen tomorrow, and nothing's gonna happen in regards, you know, in the next 2 months in regards to that, but it'd be nice to go ahead and say, okay, this is, you know, get a little bit beyond the concept idea of what are we gonna do for the future development out of that area over the next 25 to 30, 40 years. We have to do it sometime. This is a good time to at least begin the thought process.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments?
I just want to, thank the residents for coming out, because the more we can hear, on one side or another, the better informed we are. And also, not even for this particular project, but we're, a growing area, a growing city, and a lot of that's great, and a lot of that's awesome, and some of it's not as great. And our job is to kind of balance that out with what's legally zoned and what's in the codes and things like that. So, thank you, and thank you for coming and helping to be more informed and giving us feedback, for not only this project, but feel free to come every month, because, the more people we hear from, the more opinions we have, the more guidance that we can get, and then more help that we can provide the city council, because ultimately it's their decision, and we're kind of a recommending body. But, thank you, and I know you may or may not agree one way or the other with what we do, but thank you.
Yes, Mike.
A couple of you folks might know me. My name's Mike Myers. I represent the members of the American Legion. We're directly across the street. You got to face the facts. You're not going to put a genie back in a bottle. The fact is, probably gonna happen. I personally know this gentleman here. I've been talking to him since he built the gas station. I drive through there every day to buy chewing tobacco. He's a great guy, and, I mean, everybody doesn't like development, and when the streets came through and took a bunch of our property, we weren't happy about it, but face it, you know, you're not gonna shut off traffic on Archer Avenue. We recently had a very bad accident out there. Some dude took down one of the light poles. And it's laying in the ditch still, and I was told by IDOT it's gonna take 3 months to re-engineer a new one. They gotta drill a new case on. The guy hit it, went down in our neighbor's ditch, launched up off the culvert pipe, and he hit it about 8 foot in the air with a full-size Ford pickup, and he snapped the case on 10 foot below the ground. So when they put the pole back up, it just went over sideways. So, I mean, Archer is dangerous, and maybe there's some kind of traffic control and stuff to do, you know. But as far as the residents that live next door to us, I think on the front side of that gas station, maybe some kind of a green space along to where all the cars sitting at the, if you look at it, where the cars are facing the fuel pumps, they'd all be shooting right in the front windows of all the 2 or 3 houses there. And I know you've talked about green space and stuff like that. That should be considered, you know, because when cars are idling, most people don't turn off their cars anymore. They just fuel up. And the other thing is that, you know, that wall, putting that wall up is probably a good idea to protect the residents to the north of that. And, you know, these are all good people. They're our neighbors. We don't want to see change, but, I mean, all the garbage laying around that place over there, I mean, almost anything's an improvement. And if these people that can get, and if the people here can get relocated up Archer, it's a win-win situation for everyone. And the only question that I have is that when the city does eventually bring, if they do bring the water down, would these people be able to keep their wells, or would they have to be capped? Because that's the #1 concern of ours. I don't want to have to pay to water all that lawn. And we have a well that's functioning good enough to water the grass. Can we keep it if we get city water to drink? And a comment on a gas station. I've installed 1,000 gas tanks and 1,000 gas stations around. People don't realize it. They're double walled. When you see that great big gas tank, that's the outside shell. Am I correct? Yes. It's an outside shell, and it's like a beer can inside of a milk bottle. So if it springs a leak, all that stays in the outer shell. He gets an alarm in the store, and, you know, they know that there's fuel in there. But yes, there is runoff from the parking lot. Cars are going to drip gas and oil and stuff like that. It's a concern of ours, because I don't want to drink the water and start tasting gasoline either. And I'm not saying anything, but I mean, you know, it's a concern of everybody's, and I think bringing the water down in the sewer, because we do flood over there quite a bit. The ditches across the street get quite a bit of water. So there's got to be something thought about, you know, with his retention pond and about the sewer and the wastewater. I thank you very much, folks.
Thank you. Okay, moving on. Bill?
I have here a letter from the petitioner's engineering company dated February 7th, and it states, and we all know that 151st Street has a 7-ton load limit from Archer all the way over east of the city limits. It says, this development as currently proposed is unable to entirely keep trucks off of the 151st Street and proposes to have customer diesel trucks and fuel tanker trucks enter the Archer Avenue entrance and exit the 151st Street entrance. It will provide signage to direct prohibit exiting trucks from turning right only onto 151st Street and head back to Archer Avenue. This will put trucks onto the westernmost 500 feet of 151st Street, where they are currently not allowed based on weight restrictions. To support this new truck traffic pattern, the current weight limit would need to be increased for this 500-foot portion of the 151st Street. I just find that to be unacceptable. The city shouldn't have to change the load limit on 5 inches of 151st Street to accommodate this development. Thank you.
Thank you, Bill. That is one of the reasons we've asked the developer to reduce the canopy height was the weight limit on the roads. We don't want semis on that road. Nobody does. And also by reducing the height of that canopy, it will reduce the glow of lights also, because it'll be lower to the ground. But at any rate, I think we've covered a lot of bases here. This goes before City Council on March 5th also? March 1st. Okay. first Wednesday at 7 PM in this room. And we're a recommending body,
You
and,
need to take a vote.
pardon me?
You have to have a motion and a vote.
I know.
Okay.
Okay. We're a recommending body. We recommend what we find, send it to city council, they make the final decision. So that's a very important meeting for you people to be at and voice your opinions. Okay, do we have a motion?
Yeah, quick question before, I'm about to make a motion, but if there's recommendations that we have had specifically come out of this meeting, do we need to include those, or since it's conceptual, we do not need to include those?
Include it.
Anything you want to be specific about, absolutely, I think you should
Include.
include it. Yeah.
We'd like this all in the minutes, Kathy, so city council can read it, if they so choose.
Okay, then I will make a motion to recommend to approve the concept plan for a fuel station subject to the following conditions. One, the applicant acknowledges that staff has completed a general review only of the concept plan and that a more detailed review will occur with submission of a preliminary/final development plan. Staff comments at this time are general, intended to outline steps necessary if the project moves forward and to provide guidance and considerations for future submittals. Two, concept plan approvals are valid 1 year from the date of approval. Approval of a concept plan provides the applicant reasonable assurances to move forward with submission of a request to rezone and preliminary development plan. The preliminary development plan shall be in general conformance with an approved concept plan. I would also like to add that the fence on the northern side of the property be recommended at 10 feet, and that general green space guidelines in accordance with the concept landscape plan be recommended as part of the final recommendation, or final approval.
Do we have a second to that motion?
I just suggest, could we add the canopy, adjustment to the canopy?
Oh, yes, and also an adjustment for the canopy to be lowered to 12 feet, 6 inches per discussion, and hours of operation be limited to the 5 a.m. to 11 p.m. as the candidate stated.
Okay, we have a motion, do we have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Likens. Now comments, questions. Aaron, in regards to your 10-foot of the fence, and I'm not the engineer, perhaps we install a berm with an 8-foot fence, because I think a 10-foot fence with wind and structure will be a continual nightmare of maintenance.
Yeah, I'm open to that. I'll go with.
The biggest berm we can get there, so to speak, Ryan, and you'll be watching this, and
Yeah, if we want to adjust that language to berm plus 8-foot fence, I'm fine with that also.
okay, roll call vote, please, Kathy.
Okay. Wheeler.
Yes.
Garland.
Yes.
Maloney.
No.
Oxley.
Yes.
Peters.
Yes.
Likens.
Yes.
Deskin.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. This will go before city council in this room, March 1st, 7 PM, for consideration.
One note, I forget who had asked, but all the materials that the commissioners have in totality are available on the city's website under the Agenda Center, under Plan and Zoning Commission. So in case you wanted to look at something else that we weren't able to show on the larger screens that the commissioners do have, that is available for
Right.
residents to be able to view.
Okay, thank you. Okay. Next on the agenda, any old business? Citizens be heard. Anybody else want to talk to us? No? Chairman's report. Did everyone fill out their economic interest statement?
Not yet.
Not yet.
Ed, I know you didn't. Bill?
I didn't get it.
They came, I think they came today.
Yeah, I just got it today.
Came today? I got like 3 months.
No, you got 3 days.
You're just late.
By Monday, they gotta be in.
Yeah, actually, they're not, I think they're due
Please.
by end of April. Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you.
They're due by end of April. and
Please
it's-
take your meeting out to the hallway. Thank you.
It's done online. Everyone should have received an email. Yep.
Yes.
Okay.
What's that, Sonny?
Everyone should have received an email. Yep.
Because Donna sent them out last week, an email that they would be coming, and they came out today. And
Yep.
it takes 5 minutes to do it, and then you print the receipt. I always turn it into Donna, the city clerk, even though she says she doesn't need them, but I proved I did it, as Lance did today, yeah. Any commissioners' reports?
I have a question,
Yeah,
well, a comment.
okay.
I received the clearing the air on chickens in Lockport flyer.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious about the background, why egg-laying hens are a problem in the city.
No. Yeah.
I remember when it came up, the mayor was Trivedi at the time. And he had the people come before city council and didn't get approved, and no one has taken anything forward since then. Other than that, that's all I know.
So if I advocate down the road to change this ordinance to allow egg-laying hens, certain number per acreage, household, something in that neighborhood, no roosters, because roosters make noise and are an annoyance. And there's 5 city council people that would vote for that. That's the process?
Yeah.
That is certainly something that you can bring up. I will say, having dealt with the code enforcement side of this particular issue,
Can't imagine that one.
it is very difficult, once people have them, to get them to not have them anymore. And it is extremely difficult that even if we did just allow for hens, that a rooster will show up ultimately, and for us to go onto somebody's property and remove that rooster is more challenging than just the stabbing that the code enforcement officer would get from the chicken's beak.
So you've had to do this?
We have.
Is there a GoPro?
So the issue that started, or is the reason behind that message, is we have a few homes that are currently housing chickens. And obviously, we do not allow it in the city. We have cited those folks. We have taken them to adjudication court. They believe that they will live in their house in perpetuity, so we could lien it for the entire amount of their value, and they don't really care. And so it has been an ongoing issue for the neighbors of those people. But we don't have a lot of authority to physically remove them because Will County Animal Control does not regulate chickens. They don't go in and remove chickens that are illegal because they're in the city's property, nor do we internally do that, and our animal control within the city does not handle chickens either. So before you open Pandora's gate on something like that, just know the ramifications that come with it.
So you said they are physically inside someone's home?
No, they are on their property outside in a coop that is growing larger by the day.
Okay. That's why I wanted to ask the question.
So they're not free range?
Oh, they're free range.
Oh, when they get out, they become free range.
Yes,
But
right.
also, I think sometimes people think it would be a good idea, but maybe not know. I happen to have a relative who takes in rescued chickens for people who think it's a good idea, but don't really know what they're getting into. So as a farm girl, I would say, let's talk before you want to get some chickens.
Rescue chickens?
I'm not joking.
I know Sonny'd like to put some in her house.
I'm a farm boy.
Also, Scott,
I mean, people know you can eat them, right?
another thing that I noticed for a lot of the developments in the city, in the declaration of the covenants, they exclude chickens. They're not allowed. So the subdivisions that could have them are primarily RO or in the older R1 sections of the city. So it wouldn't be universal where everyone could have chickens because there are other laws that would prevent that.
So if you lived in a subdivision, you would have to check your
Covenants,
covenants.
HOA covenants.
Yes.
Yeah.
10-4.
Okay, anything else? Accept the motion to adjourn. Motion by Wheeler,
Second.
second by Likens. All in favor signify by saying aye. Aye. Thank you very much. Good night.
Scott, thank you. That was the most I've laughed all day.